No, that's okay. All right, well, thank y'all very much for coming out tonight. Let me see what we've got here real quick, just so I can. There we go. All right, as she said, my name is Terry Holcomb. I'm the Executive Director of Texas Carry, and I'm also Second Amendment SAF Defensive Handgun Instructor, SAF Range Safety Officer Instructor, and SAF Fundamentals of Safety Training Instructor. As she stated, I'm also the pastor of Crossroads Baptist Church in Oakhurst, Texas. I want to thank everybody coming out tonight. Before we get involved, I would like to just go ahead and recognize all the elected officials that came out tonight. If you would, just please stand. Let's give these guys a hand. A special thank you goes out to our sheriffs for everything that they do. God bless y'all for that. All right, so Texas Carry was born in 2013. After 2011, we were trying to work at the legislature to get open carry passed and some other things done. George Lavender filed the bill in 2011. In 2013, again, we tried again to get open carry passed, and we were continuously being ignored. And the current gun rights organization that were up there were absolutely being of no use whatsoever. And so it became very apparent that we did not have a group that was actually advocating for our gun rights here in Texas, and out of that, Texas Carry was born. We had a phenomenal 84 session, and so we're going to be able to cover some of that. Let me say what this is not. This is not a time for debate. We're here to educate. We're here to explain to people the laws and things of that nature. I will entertain some discussion. The law is the law today. It is what it is, and I'm just here to try and help folks learn that. If you want to have a debate with me about things afterwards, I'm more than willing to do it. I just don't want to turn this into that, okay? So with that being said, we're going to get right into this. I'm going to skip campus carry. You're going to see me cover that. But right here, one of the things that Texas Carry believes is that if the community and law enforcement will work with license holders, we will see these things go over very, very smoothly. I can tell you that as a Baptist preacher, and different Baptist preachers are in different places. You have your pre-trib, your mid-trib, and your post-trib, right? Well, I'm not quite sure where to stand on that. Even as a Baptist preacher, I'm kind of up in the air on it. But on January the 1st, according to the media, the world was going to end. So I wanted to make sure that I got to enjoy at least the last day here. And we went up to Austin, and lo and behold, it must be post-trib because the world didn't end, right? But we believe that the community and law enforcement will work with license holders, that things will go over very, very smoothly, as, by the way, they have for 20 years. We also believe through education and relationship building, ladies and gentlemen, that we build a stronger community. Regardless of where we stand on certain issues, if we can at least all have decent relationships and we can all educate one another on exactly what things really are, then we have a stronger community. So that's what Texas Carry bases all of this effort on. All right, so being a beacon of light through education and relationship building, we're going to cover three things. You're going to see four, but we're going to cover knife preemption. It's one of the least talked about things that came out of the 84 session, and it's one of the things that's actually causing us a little bit of stress across the state. We're going to talk about what is it and how does it impact you. We're going to talk about unlawful exclusion of a CHL holder by a governmental entity. Actually, that's the most controversial thing that came out of the state legislature that we're dealing with. We're going to skip over campus carry tonight, and then lastly, we're going to cover open carry. Now, there's a reason I leave open carry last. That way you'll stay here until the end, okay? All right, so let's get right into this knife preemption. Has anybody heard of knife preemption yet? I mean, does anybody even have a clue what I'm referring to here? Okay, so the effective date of knife preemption, it went into effect September 1st of 2015. 15. HB 905 was filed by Representative Dutton, and it's commonly what is called knife preemption. So what is that? Well, very simply, it is displacement of all local municipality and/or county knife laws by Texas state knife laws. The state has assumed sole authority over all knife laws. This was added as part of Local Government Code 229.01, which is commonly referred to as state preemption. So what does HB 905 state preemption say? Well, very simply, and let me just stop here right quick. One of the things that I want y'all to understand is I copy and paste the actual law here. I'm not offering opinions. I give you the law, we talk about what it says, okay? So section 229 of the Local Government Code says this: notwithstanding any other law, including section 43.002 of this code, and Chapter 251 of the Agriculture Code, a municipality may not adopt regulations relating to the transfer of private ownership, keeping, transportation, licensing, or registration of firearms, air guns, or knives. Now, all of this code existed. The word knives is underlined because it was added. So this code already existed, and it was already in place for firearms, and knives was added. And then section 236.002, very importantly, says the same thing about counties. Okay? All right, so are there exceptions to knife preemption? So we need to talk about that a little bit before I get into reading this. Any chance the county attorney's here? That's very unfortunate. So in Local Government Code 229, the state carved out some exemptions for local government around firearms. So a county or a city can regulate on public property, government property, if you will, long guns. So the county can say, we don't want any long rifles, long guns in our county parks. That authority was carved out for them. They can say, we don't want any long guns at Commissioner's Court. They can do that. What they can't do is regulate any facet whatsoever of license holders. Zero. So the state carved out exemptions for long guns for local cities and counties. That's very important because this is the only exceptions that were carved out for local government for knives. Subsection A does not affect the authority a municipality has under another law to regulate the use of firearms, air guns, or knives in the case of an insurrection, riot, or natural disaster if the municipality finds the regulations necessary to protect public health and safety. What's the first thing you think of when I read that? New Orleans. Yeah. Right? They had major gun confiscation over there by their law enforcement. Fortunately, the Texas legislature had a little bit of wisdom, and they added the next section there. And it says, the exception provided by B4 does not authorize the seizure or confiscation of any firearm, air gun, knife, or ammunition from an individual who is lawfully carrying or possessing a firearm, air gun, knife, or ammunition. So they can't just start blankly taking folks' guns here in Texas. Texas and New Orleans, it wouldn't be the best plan anyway, right? Okay? But the state says they can't do that. So what are the current state knife laws? Since the current state knife laws are the now only laws in the state, we need to know what they are. First of all, in Chapter 46.01 of the Texas Penal Code, the definition of knife means any bladed hand instrument that is capable of inflicting serious bodily injury or death by cutting or stabbing a person with the instrument. Switchblade, the definition is there. The only reason I put that there is because a lot of people don't know that switchblades are legal in Texas. And they've been legal since about 2011. You just can't have a double-bladed switchblade. It can't have an edge on both sides, okay? an illegal knife according to the state of Texas? An illegal knife means a blade over 5 1/2 inches long. That is from the tip of the blade to the hilt. Does not include the handle. A hand instrument designed to cut or stab another by being thrown. So we're talking about Chinese stars. They actually make throwing knives, if you will. A dagger, which is a double-sided blade. Let me sum it up for you. Poor Mr. Bowie's rolling over in his grave. A Bowie knife is an illegal knife in the state of Texas. That's terrible. I'll give you a little trivia. That B right there used to be capitalized, but people started throwing such a fit about it because Bowie was being disrespected by the state by making the Bowie knife illegal that they decided to make it a lowercase. A sword, and to my dismay, I can't take my spear into Walmart when I go shopping. I've actually tried to research and find out how in the world that even got in the penal code, and I've never been able to find it. We need to understand that just because it says illegal knife in the penal code doesn't mean it's unlawful to own it. Section 4602 of the Texas Penal Code, unlawful carrying of a weapon. A person commits an offense if the person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly carries on or about his person a handgun, there it is, illegal knife, or club, if the person is not on the person's own premises or premises under their control, or inside or directly en route to a motor vehicle or watercraft that is owned by the person or under the person's control. Ownership of those items is not unlawful. You can go to Academy today and you can buy you a 12-inch long dagger. They sell them. And you can walk out of Academy to your car and put it in your car. No, you don't have to conceal any knives or anything like that. And you're fine. And then you can go home with it. But if you go down the road and you decide I'm going to put that knife on my hip and you go into Walmart, you have now violated the law. So ownership is not unlawful. You just can't be carrying it around in public. Okay? Just hold your questions to the end. So what was the purpose of knife preemption? Well, very simply, the purpose of knife preemption was to eliminate the patchwork of laws that we had across the state. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, it actually brings our state in compliance with its own Constitution. Article 1, Section 23 of the state Constitution says the state is the only one that can regulate the wearing of arms. We've been violating our own Constitution for all these years, go figure, right? But we have differing laws from city to city and county to county, and it was causing a lot of confusion. And you could break the law 14 times and never even know it. And I'll give you some examples. How many of you got a pocket knife in here right now? Lots of hands are going to go, right? How many of those pocket knives lock? Right? That why? Don't want to cut your finger off, right? A dull knife is a dangerous knife. Right? Well, San Antonio, in their infinite wisdom, decided that they would outlaw locking blades. You know how many people broke the law every day in San Antonio? Corpus Christi, in their infinite wisdom, decided that blades over 3.5 inches long would be illegal. So if you had a pocket knife that was 4 inches long and you drove through Corpus Christi, you were breaking the law there. And so it just became a problem that needed to be fixed, and the state fixed it in the 84th session. All right, before I take questions, let me tell you where the problem is. How many of you go into a courthouse with a metal detector? How many of them tell you that you can't carry your pocket knife in there? They're now breaking the law.
Huh?
The only thing that is prohibited from carrying into a courtroom is an illegal knife. Your pocket knives are absolutely able to go in there now.
What about airport? My husband from several knives right there.
Yeah, you can't, okay. Let me say two things on her question. She asked me about the airport. And I'm going to take questions after each section, okay? Anything I say today does not impact federal law at all or federal property, okay? Everybody understands? So I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there. Never, ever, ever take a gun on federal property, including the parking lots. So at the airport, you can't take a knife past TSA. They're not, and we're going to talk about TSA here in a little bit as well. So no go on carrying a knife on a plane. Yes, sir. You had a question?
Yes, illegal weapons in your vehicle. So you can't carry that 12-inch dagger on your hip.
You can carry it in your car. It's not unlawfully possessed. It's only illegal if you carry it out in public. You can carry it in your car. The law is very specific that you can carry it en route to your car or in your car or en route to a watercraft that you own or that you're under control. Okay? Any other questions on knife preemption? So I don't know what the solution is going to be with these counties. We're just now starting to educate the counties about the knife issues because I keep getting phone calls about people getting their knives taken and not given back. So we're trying to educate the counties on the new state preemption. We'll probably are going to have to do something in the 85th session like we did in the 84th to get local government's attention. Because as we've seen over the last 6 months, local government really has the idea, many of them anyway, that they're above the law. I'm just going to speak frankly on this issue. We have city halls and cities and some counties, it's more cities than counties, that just don't believe they have to follow the law. Fortunately, with the 30-06, 30-07 issue that y'all are going to hear about in a minute, we now have a legal remedy. We can file a civil case on with the AG, but with knives, we don't necessarily have that remedy right now. So, what's probably going to happen is after the state convention, you're probably going to see activists get fired up on this knife issue, and you'll probably see them go and get arrested in certain counties to go ahead and expedite this. And let's get it in the news. Let's make sure, because this is how you get things moved along. So,
would you like to get arrested tomorrow morning at 9:30 in Smith County?
no.
Would you like to see me get arrested tomorrow morning at 9:30?
I'm going to be in Jacksonville. Please don't get arrested. I'm going to be in Jacksonville tomorrow. So if you haven't, it's better if you go and you try and sit down with the county judge, with the county sheriff. A lot of people don't even know about this. This is what we found. They may not even be aware of it. So go that route and then contact us and let us know how it goes. Okay? Yes, sir.
Were you allowed to have an illegal knife, backpack or something?
Yeah, there are exemptions. There are exemptions for camping and hunting. Yes. To answer that question, yes. All right. We're going to move forward. Unlawful exclusion of a CHL holder by a governmental entity. It went into effect September 1st, 2015. Now let everyone know I'm a little bit biased on this issue because Texas Carry is the only gun rights group in the entire state that is actually challenging local governments. We have sent, probably close to 60 or 70 notifications to local governments. We've gotten about 40 of them pulled down, and now we've got a backlog waiting on the AG to respond. Okay? So SB 273 was filed by Senator Donna Campbell. What is unlawful exclusion of a CHL holder by a governmental entity? Well, here it is. This was added. It's all new. Local Government Code 411-209. Wrongful exclusion of a CHL of a concealed handgun license holder. A state agency or political subdivision of the state may not provide notice by communication described by, and you're going to need to pay very close attention to the ORs, described by section 30.06 Penal Code, or by any sign expressly referring to that law, or to a concealed handgun license. That last "or" is a catch-all. There can be no sign that talks about a license holder at all. Unless the license holder carrying a handgun under the authority of this chapter is prohibited from entering or remaining on premises or other place owned or leased by the governmental entity unless the license holders are prohibited from carrying a handgun on the premises or other place by section 4603 and 46035. How many license holders do I have in here today? 6? Okay, good. The rest of y'all need to get it. All right. So I've got to break this down because we have both in here. 4603 and 46035 are the places that we are told we cannot carry. That's where you find the laws. Okay? If it's prohibited in 4603 or 46035, which we are going to cover those in a little while, then they can post those signs till the cows come home. They don't need to. It's a redundant thing because license holders are literally the most law-abiding people in the state. They're literally the most law-abiding demographic in the state. Okay? I'll give you the numbers, the factual numbers. Of all crime committed from a Class B misdemeanor, which is a minor offense, and up, in the state of Texas, less than 0.3% is committed by a CHL holder. They're literally the most law-abiding demographic in the state. Okay? They want to obey the law. They know not to carry into a high school or a junior high. They know that. Don't need to put a sign up there, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about. No big deal. All right? So before I read this, let me explain something to everyone. There's this great big myth going on out there right now. Somehow people think that places that license holders can carry was expanded in the 84 session. The only place that we're going to be able to carry after the 84 session that we couldn't before is college campuses. That's it. There wasn't another single law that passed, there wasn't another single bill that passed that made it to where I could carry anywhere new. And a lot of people think that SB 273 expanded where we can carry. No. The law has always been very, very clear. Local governments are not to regulate license holders. That's always been in the law. It was in 229.01, and in 2003, it was added to 30.06, so you see that in 30.06E. And because they continued to ignore the law, a civil penalty was added. That is what SB 273 is, a civil penalty. And it says a state agency or political subdivision of the state that violates this law is liable of a civil penalty of not less than $1,000 and not more than $1,500 for the first violation, and not less than $10,000, not more than $10,500 for the second violation. And C is very, very important. Each day of a continuing violation of subsection A constitutes a separate violation. So I'm going to put this in Cold Spring country boy terms. Day 1 is 1,000. Day 2 is 10,000. Day 3 is 10,000. Day 4 is 10,000. Day 5 is 10,000, and on down the road. Okay? And this is for our law enforcement folks in here, probably more than anybody. A wrongful exclusion of a CHL holder is not enforceable. If a government entity posts a no firearms sign in violation of this law, it's not enforceable, and license holders can and should ignore it. We're law-abiding citizens, right? All right, so before I take questions on this, let's get into some of the things that have happened since the bill passed. So the Attorney General came out with an opinion on this issue. The opinions were sought very quickly. We knew they were going to be. We had a senator request one for us because we have always believed that entire courthouses were not off limits. We've always believed that. Now we're in the minority, but that's what we've always believed. So we went out and got an Attorney General's opinion. The Attorney General came out with the opinion in December, and basically the opinion says that if it is a multi-purpose building, so there's something in there other than courtrooms or other offices, they could not prohibit CHL holders from carrying in there. That's an opinion. I grant that. That's the Attorney General's opinion. It's also the governor's opinion. So we started filing. We would not file on anyone until we got that opinion. I didn't want to waste local government's time. I didn't want to waste my time. We wanted the opinion. We got it. We started filing right away. And a couple of counties kind of scoffed and they kind of balked and they said, well, we're not going to follow along. We said, that's fine. We filed on you. We notified them. They didn't take the signs down. We filed a complaint with the AG. I got it in the mail today. Bell County has been notified that they're in violation of the law and they have 15 days to take their sign down or the fine start ticking. McLennan County, one of the big counties, also decided they were going to go down this road, and they had made a deal with the AG to move the offices that are not court related out of that building. So this is happening. I've gotten City Hall after City Hall to pull them down. We've gotten rec centers to pull them down. Cities that were posting parks that we've got them pulled down. The signs are coming down. So what do you do if you see a sign that's unlawfully posted? And let me just make sure, I'm going to say something right here. I'm not going to deal with anything in this county tonight. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't want to know. It would be inappropriate for me to do that from up here, okay? These are conversations that I like keeping on the professional end of things, private conversations, things of that nature, okay? So, this county, I just found out, it's Usher County. Upshur. I've got 0 complaints at this point, from the county. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't want to know. All right. Afterwards, if you want me to know, let me know. All right. If you find a violation and you would like our help in dealing with it, we are the best at the state in dealing with this. I need you to take a picture of the violation, and then I need you to email it to sign, SIGN, at texascarry.org. Very easy. Sign at texascarry.org. Make sure I know the name of the building, and you need to tell me what's in it. Because I had somebody send me one, they said, oh, this building's got the signs up, it's government owned, and I said, what's in the building? Because they didn't send it to me. And they said, well, there's courthouses and the judge's office. I said, that's it? And they said, yeah. I said, well, they're fine then. They're perfectly lawful. So the idea isn't to get places where we're not supposed to carry. The idea is that we're all expected to follow the law, right? That's it. If we don't agree with the law, then we try and go change it. But we don't get to just decide not to follow. Any questions on unlawful exclusion of a city to a holder by a governmental entity?
The web address again?
Sign at texascarry.org. Yes, ma'am.
What if the courthouse has a restaurant in Twinsville?
Yeah, that's a first. Actually, no, there's Hardin County has a restaurant in there. So here's the deal.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, what if the courthouse has a restaurant in it that's open to the public? Here's the thing, and this has been made very clear. And by the way, the AG's letters to these counties is on the AG website. You can go look at them, all right? If it is not a government court, and I'm glad you asked this question, remind me about Commissioner's Court if I don't remember. If it is not a government court, which the AG has defined as a constitutional judicial court, or it's not an office of that court, and it's in that building, it can be prohibited. That restaurant is absolutely accessible to a license holder. So Commissioner's Court. A little interesting twist on this. There were some county commissioners court, and we have a commissioner here I know, that believed that they were exempt under the government court law. That's not true. Commissioner's court is not a judicial court. It's like city council, if you will. They operate under the Open Meetings Act. Can they prohibit? The answer is yes. They can choose to do that. Do they have to? Absolutely not. In my county, I can tell you that my judge wrote an administrative order, which the law allows him to do. And his administrative order said all license holders can carry every office in the courthouse under their jurisdiction. You just couldn't go into an active court session. The world didn't end. How many people know that you can carry into the Capitol right? So here's what we hear all the time. There's a lot of emotional things that go on in a court. There's a lot of emotional things that go on in life. But I'm going to tell you, it gets no more heated in any area in Texas than on that house floor in Austin. And all those guys, even the anti-people that say they're against guns, every one of them down there are carrying. I mean, I'm always sitting back going, they're going to start shooting any minute now, right? You know, and I'm going to interject some opinion here, and that's okay. Bad guys will always do bad things. And good guys, like our law enforcement, will always respond to those bad things. But in between that time, we're on our own at the end of the day. Okay? Any more questions on unlawful exclusion of a CHO? All right. This is going kind of quick. I usually get a lot of questions on this one.
Sir,
Yes.
it's not a government agency, but what about a church that has a census?
We'll address churches when we get into them.
Okay.
All right. Typically, I go through campus carry here. I'm going to go by, and what I want to do is I want to let y'all take a quick 5-minute break before we get into open carry. Let me get through this real quick. Something's working. If there's anybody here that actually wants to ask a question about campus carry, I'll be available after the session to do that because it looks like we're getting through this. Let's take a 5-minute break.
I'm not sure how much is left.